everyone. Good morning from here, and good afternoon, good evening to you, depending on whatever time zone you are tuning in from. Very excited as always to welcome you to our final edition of the Forex Morning Mastery for this week, and of course for this month as well. This is the last trading day for the month. Um, it has been quite an interesting week so far. Remember, we have been monitoring three financial instruments, which includes the US All Spot, the USDJPY, and of course the XAUUSD. And to be fair, we have done pretty well across all of these assets. Today, we are going to be reviewing how well these assets have done so far. What were the trading setups we were looking at to capitalize on trading opportunities? And then we are also going to be reviewing the fundamentals and of course the technical details on the chart just to understand how market participants are digesting this information in preparation for today's trading session. And of course, we are going to be taking into account the fact that today is the final trading day for the month and for the week. And of course, it is expected that there will be some psychological peculiarity which we are going to be taking into account, like market participant repositioning ahead of the new month, which is a very, very important thing we also need to look out for, as there is a tendency for a rebound in any current trend we see on the chart. So we are going to be taking all of this into account while we review the current market structure. So if you're a fan of any of these assets, I mean the USDJPY, the US All Spot, and the XAUUSD, stay tuned in as you do not want to miss out on these valuable ideas. And before we go into the details, it's important I also welcome those of us who are joining us for the first time. You're highly welcome. My own name is Sheriff Daramola, and we run the Forex Morning Mastery 3 times in a week: Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, where we all come together to have a deep understanding of the behavioral patterns of market participants through the lens of price action and fundamental analysis. And I want to emphasize that this is not a signal service platform, but instead an educational avenue where we come together to identify areas where we are going to either buy or sell that particular asset for that day. So I encourage you all to engage in the comment section, ask me any questions as regards to the financial market, and I'm here and willing to be of help in that regard. So with that said, before we go into the chart, it's important for us to understand the major driver of the US dollar. Remember, the US dollar technically affects all the assets we are monitoring. It affects the US crude oil, it affects Japanese yen, and of course it affects the gold commodity. And lately we've noticed that the US dollar has been gaining some traction, and of course this is further supported by the GDP report we saw yesterday. Let me show you what things are looking like on the economic calendar. So we saw the hold on a second. Okay, so we saw the GDP from yesterday's trading session. During the New York session, we saw the US GDP, the US economy grew at 2.4% as against the expected 2.3%, which signals some sort of resilience. Then we also saw the US jobless claim counts, which also came in lower than what market were expecting. We had a 224,000, which shows that fewer people are filing for unemployment, and this shows a strong labor market as well. Then today market will be repositioning ahead of the core PCE reports and inflationary data, which is considered to be the Fed's preferred gauge to know if inflation is high or not in the United States. So this is going to be coming up later today at 12:30 p.m. UTC. That's about 1:30 p.m. local time. And it is expected that if inflation is higher, it will definitely influence the US dollar positively. And there are some, based on the speeches from Fed officials, we learned that from their narrative that due to the Trump tariff, there is a higher chance that inflation could set in the next couple of months. Now, in as much as the dollar has been gaining some traction in the last couple of days now, there is still the expectations of interest rate cut by the Fed, as market participants still believe the Fed will cut rates by June, which is expected to cap the current uptrend scenario we are seeing on the US dollar market dynamic. Then, if we take into account Trump's trade tariffs situation, which obviously has sparked uncertainty in the market. Yesterday, he just announced another 25% tariffs on autos, and potential retaliation could slow the US growth, making the Fed more likely to cut rates. Now, with that said here, how are we going to be positioning ourselves for the US dollar? Definitely, market participant will be looking forward to this core PCE today. If inflation is higher than expected, the US dollar could strengthen, and if it is weaker, the Fed rate cut bet will increase, weakening the US dollar as well. And for those of us who are going to be trading the USDJPY, I personally want to maintain a cautious approach, though we saw the yen gain some strength during the early hours of today, and this could be attributed to the high CPI data from the Japanese economic docket. So we saw this come in yesterday night, 11:30 p.m. UTC. So we saw a 2.4% expansion as against the expected 2.2%, and this obviously has given the yen a little bit of traction this morning, which I personally want to consider it to be a temporary one. The US dollar could still strengthen, and in that regard, we need to be very conscious about that. So if you're a USDJPY fan, stay tuned in. We shall be deliberating on that one in a moment. So with that said here, I want us to dive straight into the business. And as always, the first asset we are going to be looking at is the USDJPY. And look at this, we have been buying this asset since the beginning of the week, capitalizing on the strength of the buyers in this market. If you recall, on Monday, we had our key level situated at the $68 area. That's our key level for this week. And of course, price maintained momentum above the key level. Welcome buying ideas. And of course, we added more positions at the break of the $68.36 level, the $68.50 area, to maximize the uptrend scenario. Of course, we saw price hit our TP at the $69.50 level. Then on Wednesday, we projected another trading setup right here on the 15 minutes time frame. So this was what we were looking at on Wednesday. If you are with me on Wednesday, you remember this was the structure we were looking at. We had a beautiful descending trend line which captured the retracement of oil prices after price tested the $69.50 level. Then we also had a demand zone between the $69 area and the $68.91 level. And I can remember emphasizing here that we shall maintain a bullish bias on this asset since price remains above the demand zone, and that the only condition that will make us sell is for price breaking down, retesting the structure, which obviously never happen. So we positioned ourselves buying the $69 area. Then we also added more at the break of the $69.25 level. So it has been quite a profitable week for us all on the US All Sport. And for those of us who capitalize on this opportunity, well done and kudos to you. So the US All has been strengthening thanks to US tariffs on Venezuelan oil. Remember, I mentioned on Wednesday, was it Wednesday or Monday, that there is this 25% secondary tariff on nations buying Venezuelan oil, and this has supported oil prices, restricting supply and forcing buyers to seek alternative sources. Now, another factor here that has influenced the uptrend scenario in the US crude oil is the declining US crude inventory. We saw both the EIA and the API report showing a massive drawdown in crude oil stockpile, which technically tells us that the demand in the US market is way higher than the supply, and of course this is signaling more strength to the US crude oil market. Now, if we consider these factors, it is quite clear that the path of least resistance for US oil remains to the upside. However, if we consider the US auto tariffs, which has a high tendency of impacting demand of this commodity, the 25% tariff on imported cars and trucks, which is starting on April 2nd, that's next week, and auto parts, of course, which is starting on May 3rd, raises concerns about slowing economic growth and reducing fuel consumption. And if we take this into account, the likelihood of this uptrend scenario seems limited at this point. And if we look at what has been going on here since in the last 48 hours, you will have noticed that buyers have been finding it difficult to break through the $69.80 area. As you can see, for those of you who are with me on my TradingView and Telegram platform, I updated us with this technical structure. Informing us that buyers have been finding it difficult to break through this particular area in the last 48 hours. Now, what does this tell us? Well, we need to be very, very careful around the structure, considering the resistance for the buyers. Now, for us to trade this today, we are going to be personally, I will maintain a bullish bias as long as the supply squeeze from Venezuelan sanction persists and inventories keep falling. Oil prices may remain supported, so I want to be looking out for buying ideas. However, considering the selling niche around the $69.80 level, we may likely see markets, major key players in the market take some profit at this juncture, especially as we head into the final trading day of the month, and the idea of repositioning ahead of next month is also crucial. So they could be taking some profit off the market, and this could lead to a crash in this market. So in order to help us navigate this current structure, I have an ascending trend line, which obviously has been breached. As you can see here, we have the ascending trend line here, and then we saw price break down the structure during the early hours of this morning. And of course, it appears we are looking at a retest of structure at this point. As you can see here, price broke down, though not close to the trend line, but it appears that we are seeing something like this, which could incite selling ideas. So how do we want to sell the US crude oil at this juncture? Well, based on what I'm looking at here, and considering what has been going on since the Asian session, I think I'm able to identify a descending trend line right here. Of course, it's a beautiful one, So I will lessen the thickness of this one as it is no longer relevant based on the structure. So the relevant one right now is this descending trend line, and as long as price remains below our descending trend line, especially when it's below a supply zone, we do want to be looking out for selling ideas. So what I will do right now is place a sell on the US oil spot. Since price is trading below that structure, I want to risk a sell at this juncture, then have my stop loss somewhere above the $69.80 level right here. Okay, let's just place it right at the top. So I just placed a sell right now with the hopes that price will continue the momentum to the downside, and we're looking at price coming maybe back into that demand zone we talked about during the midweek, which is about 66 pips. And if price goes on to break down, we could be looking at price reaching the $68 area, which is our key level for the week. Now, going back into the current structure here, if it so happens that the sentiment in the market continues to favor an uptrend scenario based on tariff situations around Venezuelan oil and declining US crude oil, I would love to see this trend line broken, not only broken, retested, showing signs that sellers are finding it difficult to continue the downtrend. Then I would like to join and then have another buy position above the $69.79 level. So if I buy at the retest of this trend line, I will add another buy stop order above the $69.79 area to maximize the potential of that bullish move. So that is how we are going to be navigating the US oil market today. So I already placed a sell right around this descending trend line. It's currently running in a loss of about 4 pips. Let's see how far this is going to go. And like I said, stop losses remain above the supply zone, and we are only considering buying only if price comes back to retest the structure to the upside. But if there's anything new that happens, maybe something comes up that I did not mention during the course of this session, I will be updating us in due time on my Telegram and TradingView platform. So that is my simple view on the US crude oil. If you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will take the next 5-10 seconds off. Let's see if there are any questions before we move on to the next asset on our watch list. Stay tuned in. All right. So, in the absence of no questions, I want to assume we're on the same page. So, I already placed a sell, right? And it's currently running in a loss of about 6 pips. So, let's see what happens around this trend line. It's a crucial juncture we have right here, just right below the supply zone identified here. So, let's see if sellers will maintain the bearish pressure around this area to give us a good sell position. But if that does not happen, we get taken out, price breakout retest the trend line, then we can start considering buying. So I will keep us updated on my TradingView and Telegram platform. So with that said here, let's move right into the next asset on our watch list. Stay tuned. So the next asset we are looking at is the USDJPY, and I have a sell position running right now. For those of you who saw my update this morning, we shall talk about that in a moment. That setup actually gave me a sell position, which I have moved my stop losses to break even. You can see it right at the bottom of your screen. And let's talk about what has been going on in this market since the beginning of the week. Well, the market has been on a recovery note since the beginning of the week. We've seen the US dollar gain some traction at the beginning of the week, and the recent economic data from the United States also is helping matter. We talked about the US GDP. We saw the economy grew at 2.4% annualized in quarter four, which was higher than the previous quarter, which was pegged at 2.3%, providing support, likely to provide support for the US dollar. And then yesterday we saw the Boston Fed president, Susan Collins, who signaled that Fed is likely to maintain a tight policy stance. That is, in simple terms, she's saying that the Fed may delay rate cuts at this point in time, which for me sounds more like an hawkish remark for the US dollar at this point. However, if we look at the other side of the pond, that is on the Japanese economic docket, they are also having very good figures too as well. We saw the Tokyo CPI data, which rose by 2.9%. I think I showed you earlier, so this is it right here. So sorry, 2.4% year on year, and 2.9% for the conventional price index, of course, higher than the previous month, showing us that inflation is a little bit on the high side, exceeding the Bank of Japan's 2% target, and this is likely reinforcing expectations for further rate hikes from the Bank of Japan, which obviously is a very good and positive signal for the Japanese yen. And then the Bank of Japan summary of opinions, which was published during the week from March meeting, confirmed that the bank is open to raising rates if economic conditions align with its forecast. Now, with that said here, we are in a limbo in this market right now. Remember, we have been buying this asset since the beginning of the week. We bought it at the 149.950, which was our support platform to buy the USDJPY, and of course we did fairly well, if not that much. And then on Wednesday, I shared with us another simple structure to help us navigate this market on Wednesday. Right here, so you can see we saw a sell trigger that did not do very well. Then that buy also triggered. It closed at break even for me, and then price has been finding selling pressure. And following the CPI data this morning, we saw the Japanese yen showing signs of resilience, trying to gain some momentum. So for me at this juncture, I have a sell position running, and I'm taking the sell as a short-term bearish bias. Now, of course, with the rising Japanese inflation and Bank of Japan's potential rate hikes, it is expected that the Japanese yen will strengthen, and this could weigh on the USDJPY. And if you look at the structure here in the last 24 hours, I think we have noticed that buyers have found it difficult to break through the 151.2, 151.00 area, making it a strong selling niche. And this was the trading setup I shared this morning with us on both my TradingView and Telegram platform. So what I did here was to take into account the character of price action in the last 24 hours. So we have this ascending trend line after capturing the higher lows. Then we saw price break down the ascending trend line this morning. So it was at this point I shared this update. So I said I will be selling below the 150.800, and as you can see at the bottom of your screen, I sold it at what price level? That is again 150.746. And since then we can see price had moved significantly, though it appears to be doing a retracement back into the current structure. So for those of you who capitalized on that sell move, well done, kudos to you. So all you want to be doing right now is to ensure that you secure the current sell position. So I have moved my stop losses to break even just in case price snaps back up again. So the worst case scenario for me will be at break even. Now for those of us who had missed out on this opportunity, we have no other choice than to exercise patience and see if the market will come back to retest the structure that was broken. So if we see something like a retest of structure, we want to be joining a sell. So if you ask me, I will say have your sell limit order around the 150.800 area and then stop loss above the 150.950. That's about stop loss of let's see how many pips, about 15 pips thereabout. So we're going to be having a good risk reward ratio on this particular one. So that is what I'm looking at here. I have a strong bearish bias on the USDJPY at the moment, and like I said, it's going to be considered to be a short-term bearish bias. Now if price does not go as far as retesting the structure here and instead continues the downtrend from here, I'm looking to join the breakdown of the 150.395. So let's label this one 150.395. all right, so we have it right here. So I will be placing a sell limit order right there. So if price drops below the structure, I'm hoping to maximize the potential of that bearish move. So I place a sell stop order right there, and so right below the 150. Hold on a second. So 150.395, another sell stop order is right there. Now, in as much as we're looking out to sell the USDJPY, we don't know what the PCE data or what the impact of the PCE data today will be like. Now, if the US PCE inflation data comes in softer than expected, it could reinforce Fed rate cut bets, and this could push the USDJPY lower. But if the US PCE data comes in higher than what market participants are expecting, it could incite an uptrend move. And for me to join a buy from this particular structure we have here, obviously we need price to climb back above the ascending trend line. Anywhere below the ascending trend line is more like a seller's niche. So we want to buy only if price breaks above the trend line. Now my problem now is I do not know which of the trend line to take a buy from. Now this is going to be subject to how the structural pattern price evolves around this area. So I have two trend lines here. I have the first one right here, and then I have the second one here. So if price climbs up and then I see something like continue buy pressure above the structure, that is sellers finding it difficult to drop back below that trend line, I will buy and then look into add more buy at the break above the 150.950 area, just right here, to maximize the uptrend move. So it's subject to whatever happens around that trend line, but I will be giving us updates as always on both my TradingView and Telegram platform. So that is how I'm going to be looking to buy the USDJPY. At least I want to see price climb above that ascending trend line, finding buy pressure above that structure, then I can start considering buying the USDJPY. But it's still subject to the immediate or the anticipation of the core PCE coming later today. So please mark out the timing is 12:30 p.m. UTC. That's about 1:30 p.m. local time, and I will be giving us some update prior to that time. Maybe 30 minutes before that time, I will be giving us updates if the structural detail has changed. So there you have it, my in-depth look at the USDJPY. Simple trading setup, identified on the 50 minutes time frame. Let's see how the market is going to play out around this structure. And for those of us who triggered that sell position below the 150.800, I have mentioned that we move all stop losses to break even. I just did that on my own too. Let's see how this is going to play out going forward. If you have questions, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I'll take about 5-10 seconds off. Let's see if there are any questions before we move right into the final asset on our watch list for today. Stay tuned in. Okay, everyone, I guess we are all on the same page. In the absence of none, I hope you've marked out the structures accordingly. Let me widen it a little bit so you can see it clearly. So we have another structure at the 150.395, which if price breaks down the structure, we are adding more sell positions to our existing trade. So I want to wish us all the best of luck on the USDJPY. And don't forget to give the video a thumbs up. I can see we have over 7 people on board. Give the video a thumbs up. Let's make the number of likes tally with the number of people on board. So thank you very much, guys, as you do so, and keep supporting the channel to grow. So moving on to the final asset on our watch list for today. So the final asset on our watch list for today is the XAUUSD, popularly known as the gold spot. We have been buying this asset since the beginning of the week. As you can see, we bought it around at the breakout of that range bound structure we identified during the first half of the week, and we saw price hit another record high around the $3,086 ish, thanks to risk-off sentiment. We all know investors' anxiety over Trump's 25% tariffs, especially the auto tariff, which he recently announced yesterday, and reciprocal tariffs next week, and broader trade war fears are driving safe haven demand for gold right now. And the market anticipate that the Fed Reserve could resume cutting rates by June, fueling demand for more of gold, and this has resulted in some phenomenal move in gold price action. And for those of us who capitalize on this opportunity, well done, and kudos to you. And surprisingly, gold is actually gaining momentum amidst a strong a recovering US dollar. US dollar is recovering in the last 48-60 hours right now, and despite this, gold is gaining some traction. Now, due to the fact that today is the final trading day of the month, we may likely see profit-taking activities happen today, and as a result of this, we must be very careful taking this trade. Now, we had some very good news from the United States. We had a 2.4% GDP. We had stable US job market where the weekly jobless claim fell to 224,000. Am I correct? Yes, 224,000, which is quite promising for the US dollar. And then we also have the Fed officials' cautious stance, saying that they will suggest that they may maintain its moderately restrictive policy in the meantime, which could also limit the goals rally at this point in time. Now, how do we intend to navigate the current market structure at the moment? Remember, price is within uncharted territory, so technically we are in an overbought situation, and the chances that price could drop is very high from here. Whenever price hits an all-time record high, this is the first time price will come to this area, and there is this fear that price may crash from this particular area. So those who had capitalized on that bullish move may, out of fear, want to start taking some profits, especially into the final trading day of the month. And as a result, we want to keep this bearish option as open as possible. Then we don't know what the implication of the US PCE data is going to be like. Is it going to come in positive? If it comes in positive, it could favor the US dollar, causing a crash to the downside, maybe into this ascending trend line we spotted here on Monday, before another wave of bullish momentum starts next week. Now, to help us navigate this market today, I shared with us already, for those of you who are with me on my TradingView and Telegram platform, we have a new trading setup to help us navigate this market. And in fact, I missed out on that bearish move, as you will see here. Immediately I shared that update with us this morning. I went to feed my dogs, and before I came back, price had already dropped below the ascending trend line. So this was a structure I shared with us this morning. I had this trend line here, which has captured the character of price action since yesterday morning. So we are talking about 24 hours of historical data here, and look at how that trend line had played a significant role since yesterday morning. It was at first a selling niche, a resistant line, as you can see, resistant line during the New York session yesterday, and not until the Asian session we saw price break out, retest that structure to hit an all-time record high. Now, with the way things are going right now, we can see price has broken down the structure, and from a technical standpoint, whenever from a theoretical standpoint, let me zoom in so we can see. From a theoretical standpoint, whenever price breaks down a key structure like this, look at that structure here. It also shares a confluence with the 3075 level. So it is expected that if price breaks down a key structure like this, there is a high chance that it will come back, retest the structure in an attempt to continue the downtrend move. And considering today being the last trading day for the month, the chances of profit-taking activity is very high. So how do we navigate this area? So I'm beginning to lean towards a bearish move following this this impulsive bearish leg we saw after price tested our all-time record high. So we may likely see price drop into that major ascending trend line we spotted on the 4 hours time frame. So how are we going to be trading this? So I would like to see continued selling pressure below the 3075, which obviously has been happening, but I don't know if price can still come back into this trend line before that bearish move happen. Now, to have a clearer picture, let's scale down into a much lower time frame. Let's see if we can identify. So we don't have a structure yet. So let's exercise patience at this juncture. I don't want to sell around this area, especially in a very strong uptrend situation. So I would rather want to wait for price coming into either the 3075 or that ascending trend line before jumping into a sell. So I want to see a retest of that structure. So I will be placing an alert here. So I will place an alert here so that I get notified as soon as price tests that structure. So retest equals sell. So I will just place that there, so that when price comes there, I get notified. Then I'll also place an alert to around the 3075 area too. So let me place an alert there too. So I want to be looking out for selling ideas if price comes into that particular structure. Now, what am I going to do to buy these assets? Of course, the trend has been very bullish, right? And then we saw um, um, investors continue to remain anxious about the reciprocal tariffs, and then the market's anticipation of Fed rate cuts too is also there. So we may likely see an uptrend scenario from here, which is looking very slim to me, but is still subject to what the USPCE will bring. Now, if I want to consider buying, I would like to see continued buy pressure above the 3,075. That is, buy pressure persist above that structure. That is, sellers are finding it difficult to drop below the 3,075. Then I can feel comfortable joining a buy. But I will be giving us updates if anything, if I see any new technical setup around that particular area. So in the meantime, I would advise that we exercise patience around the XAUUSD. Don't let's just jump into any positions right now. Let's wait for this structure to technically mature. It could take about an hour, 2 or 3 hours before this happens. So let's exercise patience. I will be updating us on both my TradingView and Telegram platform. So there you have it, my in-depth look at the XAUUSD for today. I hope I made myself very, very clear. But if you need some clarifications or you need some better understanding, maybe there is an area you didn't get, feel free to let me know in the comment section. So I will take another 5-10 seconds off, and guys, don't forget to give that video a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. For those of you who are clicked on the like button, thank you very much for your support. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. It inspires me to continue to do more. And for those of you who are yet to do so, please click on that like button. It doesn't cost us anything, right? Thank you very much as you do so. So I will take about 5-10 seconds off. Let's see if there are any questions before we go ahead to round off on today's Forex Morning Mastery. Alright guys, so in the absence of no questions, I take that as a confirmation that we are all on the same page. I hope I made myself very clear. So today we were able to take on all the 3 financial assets on our watch list for this week: the USOILSPOT, the USDJPY, and of course the XAUUSD, where we have been able to identify simple trading setups that we are going to be using to navigate this market today. So I wish us all the best of luck. Ensure to exercise patience. Today is a very sensitive and crucial day where there is a high chance that market participants will start taking some profits off the chart, repositioning themselves ahead of the new month. So please ensure to make sure, right, that all trading setups we have marked out here fully mature before we jump into any trade. And for the USDJPY, which is currently in profit, I told us all to move stop losses to secure that one. The USOILSPOT is still in a loss right now. Let's see how the market will play out. I will definitely update us on both my TradingView and Telegram platform. So I want to wish us all the best of luck. And for those of you who are joining for the first time, I hope you were able to gain 1 or 2 things from what we have discussed here today. If you did, you want to be part of our subsequent editions. Trust me, the more time you spend with us, the better you get to comprehend my analytical approach. So I look forward to seeing you again on Monday. Same time, 9:30 a.m. West African time, 8:30 a.m. UTC, as we come here to start a new week. Is it a new month? Yes, and a new week and a new month, right? Okay. So I want to wish us all the best of luck. I will be seeing you during the course of the weekend. I will be sharing my ideas and my plans for next week. And of course, during the Forex market prep, we shall be here again on Sunday to plan for the new week. So I look forward to seeing you guys there. So it's on this note, I wish us all the best of luck. Trade smart, trade consciously, and do have a wonderful evening and a beautiful weekend. Bye.